Hi folks, it's just a quick one from us today. We've had a lot of people asking us how we do our self-isolation as we return to the UK, asking us whether it's okay, whether it's legal, whether it's within the rules. And I'm going to show you the government website. I'm going to show you the specific piece of text. It's only a couple of paragraphs long that proves that we're able to do it. Anybody can do it as long as they're travelling in a private vehicle. Now, the government haven't provided specific instructions for van dwellers or motorhome travellers, what have you. Nowhere on the website does it actually say, if you're travelling by camper van, why don't you try self-isolating as you're returning through France or what have you. But nevertheless, the wording that they have used means it's very clear. The wording given specifically by the government is, under the private vehicles header, you don't need to self-isolate if you travel through a non-exempt country and you don't stop there. If you do make a stop, you don't need to self-isolate if no new people get into the vehicle and no one in the vehicle gets out, mixes with other people and gets in again. So when they're saying you don't need to self-isolate, they mean you don't need to self-isolate upon return to the UK because you haven't mixed with anyone. So there's no time limit on that travelling through a non-exempt country. We've travelled through Spain and France. For the first few days of our self-isolation, we were just parked in one spot in Spain. We travelled through Spain, we travelled through France. But for the we made it 15 days, of course it can be 14. Over the whole 15 days, we haven't mixed with any people, and that's the key point. So when we go to a petrol station, we always use pay at pump. We're not mixing with other people. We did all of our shopping on day 16, so that we shopped for the full amount of time that we needed to. In fact, I think we shopped for 18 days because it was easier for us. We spent a few days at the beach and then we started travelling back. Nobody comes into our van, we don't mix with anyone outside our van. So in accordance with the government rules, we don't need to self-isolate upon arrival in the UK because we've already done it. We're covered. As well as doing our food shopping in advance so that we don't need to stop at any shops, and using our pay at pump petrol, we find free airs if we need water and to get rid of our waste. There's quite a few dotted all over the place. We found them in Spain as well as France. You can find them on Park for Night, and then you can just pull up, and when there's nobody around you can go and use the facilities that they have and you don't need to worry about mixing with anybody. Now, when you're about to return to the UK, I think it's within 48 hours of your return, you need to fill out the online form. And there are just a few little notes that I thought I'd give you here. Under what address will you stay at for the first 14 days, we wrote, because we've done this once before when we travelled back to the UK in October, we wrote we're going to stay in our vehicle, no fixed address as we're nomadic. The form then asks, are you exempt from self-isolating? Put yes. Then it asks why. We wrote, because we've been travelling in a private vehicle, we've self-isolated for 15 days prior to crossing to the UK. And then it asks for a residential address, and again we wrote, we're nomadic, we live in a van, we have no fixed address. When we went through border control in France, they asked us, have you filled out the form? And we said yes, and they said, okay, thank you very much. So it was really, really easy. Of course, if you're travelling by private vehicle, you don't have to self-isolate as you go. You can always do it in the UK. The reason that we've chosen to is because we're going back specifically to spend Christmas with Dom's mum, and we didn't want to have to leave Spain 2 weeks earlier than we have done in order to spend 2 weeks trapped inside our van sitting on a driveway in England. It's so much easier for us to isolate as we're travelling back. We're going to spend so much time driving each day. We stay in really remote little spots. There's never usually anybody else at our park-ups anyway, and even if there were, we're staying in our van, so it definitely works for us. We're going to start on the gov.uk website homepage. Link will be down below. Over in this black box, you want to look at Travel Advice Coronavirus, so click here. And then you want to scroll down to the grey box, COVID-19 Travel Guidance. Check if you need to self-isolate. Last sentence, last link. Click here. Now you want to click on self-isolating when you arrive in the UK. This is about how to self-isolate. Here, when you do not need to self-isolate, you want to click on this Travel Corridors list. When the page opens, you want to scroll down all the way down to where it says private vehicles. So past all of this, past all of these, it stops. Private vehicles, here we go. And this is the section that applies to anybody travelling by campervan, motorhome or other private vehicle. You don't need to self-isolate if you travel through a non-exempt country, territory or region and you don't stop there. If you do make a stop, you don't need to self-isolate if no new people get into the vehicle or no one in the vehicle gets out, mixes with other people and gets in again. You do need to self-isolate if you make a stop and new people get into the vehicle or someone gets out of the vehicle, mixes with other people and gets in again. So this is the key thing for us. So it says that we don't need to self-isolate if we travel through a non-exempt country such as Spain or France and we don't stop there. Of course we do make stops regularly to sleep, but no new people are going to get into our van, and we do get out to walk the dogs or what have you, but we're not mixing with other people and getting back in again, and that's the other key point. So if you need to get petrol, you use pay at pump, you're not mixing with other people. We don't visit any shops or anything like that. So it says we don't need to self-isolate. And that's what you want. Something that can make self-isolating as you return a little bit trickier is if you have dogs, because when you have dogs they have to go to the vets within 5 days of your return and they have to have worming tablets. We've only done this return journey once before and we managed to find a vet after many emails to many different places. We found a vet where it wasn't in a town, it was on the outskirts, and they let us do what we needed to do. We suggested that we would clip the dogs to the van and have the door shut with us inside, and they came outside, collected the dogs, took them in, did everything they needed to do, the wormers, the little health check, and then we were able to pay by phone, so that was no trouble at all. We asked if we could share their details and they said they'd rather not, probably because it was a bit of a faff, and we haven't actually found a vet for this time round yet. So it is possible. You just need to find a sympathetic English-speaking vet that can accommodate you where you are and on the time that you need them to. Well, I hope that was useful. I told you it was a super short one today. I'm going to leave you with a really windy, breezy tree shot from outside, and we'll speak to you soon.